It's your voice, your vote this election. Oregon U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley is looking to hold on to his seat. He's taking on Republican candidate Jo Rae Perkins. Joining us now is Senator Merkley. Thanks for being with us.
It's so good to be with you.
Senator, obviously you've got a lot of challenges ahead. I guess specifically we'll start with what will your priorities be for the voters of Southern Oregon if you get to retain your seat?
Well, right now, it's really the same priorities for all of Oregon and the nation is to have a major bill taking on the healthcare issues associated with the pandemic and the economic issues that are affecting so many families in Southern Oregon and across our country. We've got to rebuild this economy from the ground up, not from Wall Street down.
How would you specifically address some of those issues as it relates to increasing employment in Southern Oregon?
Well, one of them is really to make sure the small businesses have the ability to stay open or reopen, because right now, across the country and in Southern Oregon, lots of small businesses are just barely holding on, and they need this type of help that we had in the PPP Act to enable them to keep their team around, reopen when the economy improves. And second, those who are unemployed, we need to get that extra benefit to them that we had before, the $600 per week extra benefit, because that way they can pay their bills. They can pay their grocery bill, they can pay their rent, they can pay their mortgage, they can proceed to get health care when they need it. And that's where you rebuild from the bottom up, enabling ordinary families to get through this as we get through it together.
Obviously, those are great goals, but you've run into some resistance on the other side of the aisle as it relates to getting that done before the election. Do you see that changing dramatically if the balance in the Senate does not change after November election?
Well, what we heard from President Trump is he said there's going to be a really big package that he'll support right after the election. I really don't know why he hasn't supported such a package before the election. It's now been 5 months since the House passed the HEROES Act, and the Senate said, you know what, we're just not going to invest in families across this country. We're not going to invest in protecting against the eviction or utility cutoff or helping the small businesses again. I don't get it, because I think it would have been good policy and good politics for the president and the Republican majority in the Senate to back up the House plan, but they refuse to do so. And if there is a change in the Senate Democrats will get the job done.
Well, I guess that would be leading into my next question. Assuming the Senate does flip, what would your priorities be then, and how would they change?
Absolutely. I think about this like a ball game. And getting to first base is the issue of November 3rd and having a blue Senate, blue House, blue Oval Office. In other words, a we the people government instead of government by and for the powerful. Then you go to second base. That's unrigging the Senate. The Republican priorities right now require just 51 votes, or 50 in a vice president. The Democratic priorities require 60. That's fundamentally, absolutely wrong. That clears the path to restore election integrity, and that means we take on gerrymandering, voter suppression, and dark money. I'll be leading that effort in the Senate. And then the path is clear for rushing to home plate, and that's a healthcare, housing, education, living wage, jobs, infrastructure, passing the DREAM Act, passing the Equality Act, and taking on climate chaos. So those issues of reinvesting in the American family so families can thrive. They've been getting the short end of the stick now for 3+ decades. We've got to change that.
What would be, if you looked at that priority list that you just laid out, what's the top of the list, and give us an idea of what would be the rundown of how you would attack all of those issues?
Sure. The very top of the list is both the pandemic and the economic implosion associated with that. We've got to get America standing back on its feet. And then we move more deeply into the issue of housing and jobs, because we have a huge housing crisis in Oregon. We've got people living in tents on the street. People can't afford their rents and mortgages. And in terms of jobs, that is the key, because there's nothing better for a family, and there's no government program that compares to a good paying job.
Also, speaking of inside the Senate, we've talked about, and you've been very vocal about the situation concerning the Supreme Court. There is some concern on the Republican side about a move on the Democratic side to increase the number of justices on the court. Vice President Biden has laid out what he thought was a plan, a fairly lengthy plan, before he would come up with a decision. Do you support Vice President Biden's plan, and do you think something should be done in the interim?
I think a commission makes sense. Here's the challenge. It was 4 years ago that my Republican colleagues said there should never be a vote on a nominee during an election year, not even a debate. And so they refused to entertain a debate or vote on President Obama's nominee. It's the first time in U.S. history that happened. Always a nominee was debated on and voted on. So they stole the Supreme Court seat. At that point, when they were ready to fill that under President Trump, I did a 15-and-a-half-hour speech, one of the 10 longest in American history, to say, don't do it, because there's no easy way to repair the integrity of the court if you damage it by stealing a Supreme Court seat. That's where we are now. And so it's really problematic because the Republicans are trying to turn the court into a supermajority for the privileged and powerful, and they've succeeded. So how do we rectify that? It's a very difficult challenge, so a commission is as good a way as any to get all the ideas out on the table.
U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley running for re-election. We appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Good to be with you. Take care.
If you missed our interview with Jo Rae Perkins, Senator Merkley's challenger, you can head to KDRV.com. We'll be posting both interviews online after this newscast.